And we're live. Hey, everybody. I just want to welcome you all today. I have a special guest. This is Sam Kwak. And Sam is out of Chicago and he is a rental property hacker. I had to have him on. I'm so honored that you can be here. This guy's a YouTube sensation. Him and his brother, I'm not sure how old you are now, but I know you guys were buying properties at 20 years old, 22 years old. So I'm excited to have you here. Can you just give everybody just like a brief biography and tell us about yourself?
Yeah, and Tiffany, appreciate you inviting me on the show. I really appreciate it. Anytime I have an opportunity to get on someone's show, I really show them appreciation. I thank everybody. So my name is Sam Kwak. Once again, I'm one of the Kwak brothers, and I'm a YouTuber. I'm a real estate investor and a serial entrepreneur. Just to kind of give you a background, I know the context of this is real estate. I've dabbled in other areas, but I think primarily I've been in real estate more than anything. 2014 is when my brother and I got started in this business. We were still in college. Our college professors were laughing at us and saying, "Oh, just focus on getting a job, right?"
Right.
And we didn't listen to our professors, and we went and learned as much as we could. We were to the point where we were obsessed. I mean, we were waking up in the morning trying to watch YouTube videos, reading books about real estate, and then it was not till 2016 when we found a local real estate investor. He had some to the effect of 200 to 300 doors, and we got to do some skill trading. So I got to shadow under him, and then I got to help him with his marketing and growing and scaling in that regards. So that's one way. Again, another way to learn is to trade and swap skills, right?
Right.
For about a year, I shadowed and watched him what he did. Took upon his scripts, systems, you will, and we kind of took it upon ourselves, broken it down, and made it more systemized. And in 2017, we went from having 0 rental properties to 75 rental units. Hence our book, which right here, 0 to 75 units in 1 year. And we share our experience and tactics and strategies on how that goes. And I'm not saying to go grab it, by the way. I'm just sharing that was a fruition of how we got to that point. So it was actually more than 75 units, but we like to say 75 just as it just comes out of our mouth smoothly. So that's what we've done in 2017, 2018, 2019. We were really trying to stabilize our rental units and making sure it profits. There's more cash flow coming out of it. This year and the last parts of last year, we did sell off some of our units. We did it mainly so for a strategic reason. We're actually focusing on putting together what's called a private equity. So right now we're raising about $50 million in private funds that we're going to deploy to buy more massive amount of real estate. So that's where we're at right now. And it's a little bio as far as my real estate career.
And that's great. Man, I love hearing stories like that. I mean, it gets you pumped up to see some guys that are young. You're still under 30, right?
Yeah, I'm still under 30. Yeah.
And you got a lot, you got a lot of experience in the real estate field. So what some of my viewers will want to know is, I'm gonna go ahead and show the question. If I wanted to invest in real estate and procure rental properties, how you just gave us a little snippet of how you're doing private funding. How do you raise capital to get started?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'll tell you what we did, right? It's back in 2017. And I think this is the most practical tip I'll give anybody. And I usually don't give away things for free, but because I'm being interviewed by Tiffany, I'm going to do this. Yeah. So better take notes. You got to pause whatever you're doing. Okay. Yeah. So one of the most practical things you can do, and this is something that we've done early on, and it might be hard to do for some of you guys, but what we've done is 2016, we got so obsessed to the point where and at that point, we were just taking action. Like any action that was available to us, we were just taking them. And one of the action we were doing is we were going out and looking at homes for sale. And we just pretended that we had money. We were just like, you know what? We don't have money, but screw it. We're going to go and pretend that we do. And we're going to practice analyzing deals and looking at properties and doing all that. And what was unknowns to me was that I was actually building a little bit of expertise as far as looking at properties, analyzing them, what's a good deal and not a good deal. And what I was doing is I was taking my phone and I was doing selfies in front of houses that were for sale, and I was putting on Facebook and saying, hey, you know, I'm thinking about buying this rental property right now as a rental property. And you know, based on my math, I think it can make about $200-300 a month cash flow. And I've done that several times where I've had a couple people reach out to me and say, Sam, aren't you still in school? Like, where are you getting the money to buy rental properties? And I'm like, I don't. I'm actually, and I was frank with them. I was like, I don't have any money, but I do have partners that probably going to put in money for me so that I can buy the property. And I know I have a very profitable deal because I've been researching, I've been analyzing deals for a very long time. Now it got to the point where one of my family members' friend reached out. It was kind of funny. We were in like a social gathering, and he kind of called me and said, and brought me to. He's like, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What's going on?" And he's like, "Let's go talk private." And I thought I was in trouble. So he's like, "Hey, I see that you're in real estate." And he was asking a couple questions like, how long have you been doing real estate, blah, blah, blah. And I was honest and said, well, I'm just getting started. You know, I took some courses and I got some mentoring and coaching. He's like, well, I have 60 grand in my bank account. I don't know what to do with it. The stock market sucks. Is there any way we can work together? I'm like, yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, absolutely. And fortunately, I had some couple deals that I was lining up, and that 60 grand, we used it as our first down payment, as well as the expenses that we needed to buy our first 4-unit or it's 4 single family portfolio. And that's how we got started. So guys, you don't have to have a magic wand. You start somewhere. You start building a reputation of, oh, this guy does real estate. Like, you don't want to be known as Tiffany that's just, you know, whatever. You want to be known as Tiffany that she's a real estate expert. She's a real estate gal, right? When someone thinks about you, you need to instinctively have that in their brain and say, oh, Sam, he's a real estate guy, right? So I want them to talk about me in regards, oh, I know a guy that does real estate, and that's Sam Kwak, right? So you gotta have that reputation. This is why I don't, and I'm gonna get a little controversial here. This is why I don't talk about politics on social media, because I don't want to be known as a guy or a gal that talks about politics and, you know, drums up conflicts all the time. Do I care about some regards in politics? Sure, but I'm not like blowing it out in the public. What I do care at the end of the day is building my business so that I can go truly help other people in my terms, right? The way that I see it, my perspective. So if you go on my social media today, I mean, you can tell that I do real estate. I'm a family guy. Right. I care about my kids. And then that's all I do on my social media is build up that profit, build up that reputation and brand that I am a real estate person.
And that's important that you say that. I think a lot of people forget that you have to be known. You have to show what your business is in order for people to do that. And something else that you mentioned is, which I think is important, because you're a man of faith. I've always on your Facebook page, I've engaged with you, and you know, I always know this. It's about real estate. It's about your family, and it's about faith. You know, right? And I have faith, but I also believe in also am a person of law of attraction. So one of the things you brought up about manifesting things into your life is, you know, having the faith and having the burning desire and acting on those things. So I guess, you know, everything you're saying is like right on target. So we talked about how you get funding. You did some private funding, which is fantastic. So people get out there, get into the trenches so that you can build a reputation so people want to work with you. But how do you find the deals? How do you find the right?
Well, so everything that I talk about and you know, the conversation we're having right now, I mean, all the details are in our book, but I'll give you my secret sauce, if you will. You know, the Thousand Island sauce that's been kept secret for a long time. And I probably shared this once or twice on our YouTube videos, but you really have to pay attention to our YouTube channel to see this. But what we've done in the beginning was we just went out there and called for rent signs. We just went out and saw a bunch of for rent signs, and we called it and asked, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Landlord, would you be interested in selling your property? I know it's for rent, but would you be interested in perhaps having a conversation and letting it go? Usually 1 out of 10 times they'll say yes, or they might be interested. Now, 1 out of 10 times, That's not a bad odd, guys, especially if you're lead generating. You know, in my brain, I just say, what I tell myself is call 10 numbers and I'll get one yes.
Right.
So so don't be afraid to call people up. I know we live in a day of texting and DMing, but call people, right? Especially if you're dealing with someone who is more of an older generation, they prefer calling, and that's how they communicate. So you got to go and communicate the way that your quote unquote clients, your sellers, want to communicate, and that's through calling. So that's been my secret sauce for a long time. And of course, if you guys want the full script and what I say, grab the book. It's free, and I'll show you exactly what you say.
And we'll share that book here in a second.
Yep.
Keep moving because I know you're on the time crunch. You took some special time out for me today.
Yes.
Something that I've seen on some of your trainings and also on your YouTube channel is what's called velocity banking. Can you tell people what velocity banking is very shortly and how they can utilize it to pay off their mortgage in 5 to 7 years?
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick synopsis. So, I mean, this strategy's got so many names: velocity banking, accelerated banking, mortgage acceleration. We like to call it accelerated banking. That's just our term that we created for the strategy. But the idea is using a line of credit, a home equity line of credit or a personal line of credit, which actually runs on a different calculation for interest to pay off a mortgage, which is often calculated using amortized interest. Now, a lot of people argue with me saying, well, you don't want to do that because the interest rate's higher on the HELOC, or, you know, HELOCs are dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Well, a lot of people don't know actually how HELOCs work. And if they understood how HELOCs work, they would quite frankly agree with me. I don't have a whole lot of time here to explain everything, but I'll give you my elevator pitch. So imagine you're on a horse, right? You're riding your horse and you see a car, right? It's almost like getting off that horse and jumping on the car, and you can go faster in a more efficient way. And that's exactly what this is, right? The mortgage is a horse, HELOC is a car. So the way that this works is that you dump what happens is you take your HELOC and make a principal payment on your mortgage. Thus, you kind of have the way that you do this is it's kind of like a balance transfer from your mortgage to your HELOC. In fact, some of my clients, they pretty much convert their entire mortgage into a HELOC. And what they do from there is they pay down or they dump all their money into the HELOC, such so that they bring the principal balance of the HELOC down low. Well, if you know how HELOCs work, you can also take the money back out whenever you want. In fact, in a matter of seconds on your phone, you can take the money out of your HELOC and put it in your checking account in a few seconds. It's just a click of a button. So you can use the HELOC to pay for bills, credit cards, you know, gas and food and groceries. So in a way, your HELOC becomes like a new checking account. Now, again, I don't have a whole lot of time to go into the visuals, but if you are interested in paying off your mortgage within 5 to 10 years on average, this strategy can be for you without refinancing, without modifying your loan, without damaging your credit, and also without having to make more money.
Okay, so in essence, you're taking all of your money that you were making a paycheck and convert it into a HELOC, and then you're using that loan to pay off your bills, all of the bills.
Correct. Yep.
Oh, great. Just want to put that in. So something else that I've seen on one of your YouTube videos is how can we become a millionaire in 5 years? I seen that video and I'm like, what? What is that about?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll share what I did, right? Because I can share what the possibility is, but I think sharing what I did is probably more of a powerful. Not to toot my own horns, right? But the fastest way I've learned to become a millionaire in this country is close your way to becoming a millionaire. And here's what I mean. When I raised capital from these individuals, right? I'd share the story how someone invested $60,000 in a partnership. Well, what I've quickly figured out how to quickly turn that into $1 million is you buy something on a you buy a property that's distressed or needs some major renovation, right? You take that down payment or the funds that you've been able to raise, purchase the property, improve it, renovate it, and because you have an equity interest in that property, typically I give my investors, and I don't give a specific number, but typically I give my investors anywhere between 30 to 50% equity of the partnership. So what that means is that I'm holding on to 50 to 70% equity of that property. Now, if I purchase $1 million property, even financed, right? And I go improve the property to the point I increase the rents. I do such things that would increase the value of the property. Well, if I went and got a loan, let's say for $800,000, bought a property for $1 million, got a loan for $800,000, put the down payment of $200,000 because I raised private equity, and I was able to double my value of the property because I've done a good job renovating and doing management, and then rents are going up every year. Then ultimately the property value is going to go up to 2 million or even 3 million, where 50% of my equity position of 3 million is 1.5, and I'm only leveraged for $800,000. Right. Therefore, I'm worth $1 million in a span of 3 to 5 years in this project. So notice I've done that without any of my own money. I've raised money from private capital, gave them a share of the deal, where I was able to put in my value and my quote unquote interest in this is that I put in my time, my knowledge, and my expertise in able to do that, and able to complete a transaction from buying a property, renovating, adding value, and then ultimately exiting or holding the property. So everything comes back to your knowledge and education and the expertise. You can literally turn your knowledge, your nuggets, into gold if you know how to do it. So I don't think the whole adage of it requires money to make money, some aspect of that is true, but I think here in the United States, there's so much opportunity where you can take knowledge and expertise and turn it into cash. So focus on education, knowledge, and the value of understanding how to do transactions, how to do deals. Money will follow. So here's something to remember. I guess this will be a summary of what we talked about. Is value, money always follows value. If you know how to create value, money will always follow. You just gotta build that education and expertise base.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I got one more question for you, and then we're going to share your YouTube channels and your book with everybody. This is for landlords and property owners. You have a new program for property owners called Flomatics. Yep. And how does this system help, your landlord? I just want you to tell people about this because it's an awesome program. I've seen part of it.
Yeah. So Flomatics is I mean, it almost started as a side idea, and I wasn't going to go all in. In fact, I was preoccupied with other things, but the idea has been validated over and over and over and over. Now, what is this idea? Flomatics is a property management software, and it's not just your everyday mom and dad, good old fashioned software. So we're building an artificial intelligence into the software where it's going to do a lot of the heavy duty work for you. So I'll give you an example. Let's say your tenant is late. You're a landlord or a property manager, your tenant's late. Well, typically what you do is you go and send out emails, right? Call the tenant or let them know, hey, here's a 5-day notice or 10-day notice or 3-day notice, depending on what state you're in. Right. And you got to do all that work manually. Well, with Flomatics, what you can do is you can pre-program much of the emails, text messages, voice messages, and tell Flomatics to do it on a certain condition and triggers and all that. So once the tenant's late and they're considered late in the system, Flomatics will send out a series of emails, and they're sent out on specific date and time to where it makes sense and it's most effective. So that way you don't have to go and chase down your tenants doing all the manual work of texting and emailing them. Flomatics will do that for you, and you just focus on growing and scaling your business.
That's awesome. Now, I did have one question from a commenter, one of the audience. They said, are there also tax benefits to paying off your mortgage sooner?
So that's a good question. So one thing I will be on, and I'll give you all the pros and cons to the strategy of accelerated banking, right? So when you pay off the mortgage faster, what you do lose is the ability to write off your interest. Now, here's something funny about that. Would you rather pay $100,000 of interest just to avoid a $10,000 tax bill, or pay $10,000 tax bill and keep $90,000 in your pocket?
Right.
Right. So I'll tell you a quick story before we kind of wrap this up. But I have a friend. He lives in the city, middle of Chicago. I mean, he lives in one of those fancy penthouses, and he bought a truck. And I'm like, why did you buy a truck, dude? You live in downtown Chicago. Like, you won't even find a parking spot for that. And he's like, well, I needed a tax write off. Right. And I'm like, okay, so you spend $50,000 to save what, like 5-10 grand, and that's sitting in your garage and you're not even riding it half the time. It's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So I'm like, so here's my thing. Yeah, you're not gonna save you're not gonna save $10,000 on taxes, but you just saved $90,000 that you don't have to pay to the banks. And you can use that $90,000 to go buy rental properties, invest, and do other income producing activities. But that's what drives me nuts is people are like, oh my gosh, like we're gonna lose the ability to write it off. Okay, so you'd rather pay the larger bill, right? Like, folks, don't trip over a quarter to pick up a penny. Come on now, like we're all better than that.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, everybody, if you want to follow Sam and his brother Daniel on YouTube, they have a dynamic YouTube channel, a lot of cool videos. That's the YouTube channel to go to right there. And he's also offering a free book, 0 to 75units.com. You go there to order the book. It's totally free.
Totally free.
But you have to pay for shipping. So
that's right. So yeah, nothing in the world is free, but we try to at least get it down to free where you're not paying for the book, you're just paying for the shipping and printing and all that.
That's worth it, to get some knowledge from somebody, from an expert who went from 0 to 75 units. If you guys want to become rental property hackers, if you want to become real estate investors, from somebody that's out in the field that's doing it, and he showed you that you can do it without using your own money and be worth $1 million.
Absolutely.
So, if you want that information, please go to his YouTube. You can I'll also tag Sam later in the Facebook if you want to, get connected with Sam in any kind of way. And then also, go to his website and get the book. Is there anything else you want to wrap up before we get out of here? We're right at the time.
No. So if you're watching this, I mean, you're heading in the right direction, not because it's me, but if you're always hungry for knowledge and education and upgrading your skill set, that's a phenomenal direction to the millions or perhaps even the billions. So I encourage you guys to keep on learning and get educated, invest the dollars into knowing and learning. I applaud you guys for that. So, but yeah, pick up a free book. And thank you, Tiffanie, for bringing me on your show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, Sam. You have a blessed.
You bet.
Thank you.